Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to another edition of Solutions Watch. I am your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. And so far on the Solutions Watch series, we've looked at a number of capital B, capital I, big ideas, the big movements and organizations that will change the world as we know it. And of course, I do want to highlight such big ideas on the Solutions Watch podcast, but I also want to talk about simple tips, techniques, tricks that you can start implementing in your life today to change the world that you are creating for yourself. And you cannot get simpler than the simple idea that I'm going to introduce today, namely really simple syndication, RSS. And hopefully a lot of you are rolling your eyes. Oh, James, I know all about RSS. If so, awesome. Unfortunately, I know there are a lot of people out there who still do not know about RSS or its incredible utility for people who are interested in being productive with their online activity and taking control of that online activity. And I say that because a heartbreaking piece of feedback that I often get from people out there is something along the lines of, oh, James, why don't you guys, and apparently the interlocutor generally means all the people that I like in the alternative media space and no one else, why don't you guys all get together and make one website, and then I can just go to that one website every day. And I understand the impetus for that, but it is heartbreaking because it shows a fundamental lack of understanding of the nature of the revolution in information distribution that the internet represents, or at least the potential for such a revolution that is actualized in something so simple as RSS. So I will allow you to go to whatever search engine you like, hopefully not Google, obviously, to find out more about RSS. Just type in RSS or really simple syndication, read about it. You can read more about XML. You can find out little tidbits like Aaron Swartz's involvement in the development of RSS, etc. But long story short, an RSS feed is an itemized list of entries in a blog or editions of a podcast that are generally sorted chronologically from newest to oldest and that represent the information coming from that website or podcast. So how does this work practically? Well, let's take a look. So let's go to the front page of CorbettReport.com. I know you all have this bookmarked and visit it every day, right? Well, maybe not, but hopefully you do know the front page of CorbettReport.com. And of course, you've explored all the different categories of things that you can click on and information here, but you might not have noticed this little RSS at the end of this toolbar. What does that mean? Well, don't worry and don't wonder. Just click on it and we'll find out. So when you click on the RSS, you're going to get the RSS page that's going to show you this. And maybe this doesn't mean much to you. Corbett Report podcast. Okay, so there's a description of the podcast and then subscribe via RSS. Corbett Report interviews, subscribe via RSS. Corbett Report videos, questions for Corbett. What does this mean and how do I use it? Well, this symbol here is the RSS symbol. So when you see this, generally you are going to be getting an RSS feed. But when you click on this, you're going to get this, which for most people is going to look like a bunch of gobbledygook. What on earth is this? This XML file does not appear to have any style information. How do I use this? Well, here's a little tip. On this particular page, all of these RSS feeds, with the exception of the Corbett Report articles, all of these are podcast feeds in one form or another. So you're going to want a podcatcher in order to get these feeds and to suck them in and to get the information from them. There are many different podcatchers, and I'm not going to recommend any particular one. I'm going to say explore to your heart's content. But everyone, I think, will probably be familiar with the most basic one, iTunes. So, for example, you can take this RSS feed and right-click on it or control-click on it, depending on your system and blah, 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 all the different variables. Copy the link address. And then you're going to go over to iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Again, I'm not recommending iTunes. It's just one that most people will be familiar with. And there will be some variation of the file menu where you can get subscribe to podcast. Again, that will depend on a million different variables of your system and your operating system, etc. But something like this, file, subscribe to podcast, and then it's going to come up with a window where you can put in whatever you like. So why don't you paste that feed that you copied earlier and just press OK, and then Voila! Lo and behold, the Corbett Report podcast and all 394 episodes are here for your listening pleasure if you choose to download them. Now, you can set the settings in your podcatcher. There are many different ways to do this. But generally speaking, you can set it up so that it will download every single thing in the feed all at once. You might not want to do that if you don't want to download 394 episodes all at once. You can set it so it doesn't do that, and you can browse. You can look at of course, there's the title and the date, and then there's more. You can read a little bit about that and decide if you want to download that episode, and if so, you download it. And then when you sync your device, whatever that may be, to your iTunes, you will then have that podcast on your device. Then you can go out for your daily walk and you can listen to the Corbett Report podcast while you do so. Why not? Again, I hope people are familiar at least with these basics, but I know a lot of people aren't, and maybe don't know how to look for an RSS feed or what to do with it once they find it. This is what you do, and using that, you can suddenly open up the access to all of these various podcasts, including, I should note, the Solutions Watch podcast feed, which I have yet to submit to any Stitcher or iTunes or any sort of podcatcher or podcast listing, I should say. So if you subscribe to this RSS feed via the method that I just showed you, you will be one of the first ever to subscribe to it. It is not available anywhere else except on my page right now, and now you know how to subscribe to it. So you can subscribe to the feed, and you can see, yes, the audio of every single one of the Solutions Watch podcasts is here, and you can download them and listen to them to your heart's content. But, of course, RSS is not just about podcasts. It's not just about audio or video media. It's also about news. And I know my audience is interested in news and information and collecting that from a number of different sources. And maybe it is tiring to go to this page and that page and this page and that page every day. If only there was a way to get one list of all the places that I want to get news from in one handy-dandy list that I could scroll through every single day. Oh, there is. Again, RSS. So for this, you're going to need a news reader. And again, I will let you explore on your own. There are many different newsreaders out there. I'm not going to recommend any one in particular, but I am going to say, personally, I do use feedly.com that you sign up for, but it's a free account. And then you can create your own list of sources on any topic, obviously, anything you can think of. Any website that has an RSS feed, you will be able to add it to this list. So just as an example, of course, if you go to the follow and you just type in Corbett Report, you can find, oh yeah, there are my feeds, and you can subscribe to them this way if you want. But I use Feedly for reading news. And so I have, every single day, I have hundreds of articles at a glance that I can just quickly scroll through. And I can see what I'm interested in and what I'm not. And if I see something I'm interested in, I'll click on it and I'll get that. Oh, okay, all right, that looks good. I'll click on it and it'll send me to that site and I can go and read in more detail. Or I can just, which one am I going to X out of? Well, okay, anyway, I've opened that one so I can X out and then it's gone. And then I can continue on down the list and just look for information that I'm interested in and clear out the information I'm not interested in. And by that method, I can look literally at hundreds of articles a day. Obviously, I don't read every single one of the articles. I see which ones I'm interested in. I click on them. I find more information. I save the ones that I think are interesting or important. And I move on with my day. And that is an exceptionally good way of going through a lot of information very quickly and finding out what you want and what you don't. And the best thing about this is, here is just my list. It's constantly changing. I'm adding new sources. I'm taking out other sources. Here's my MSM sources. Here's my climate news, my independent news, etc. Op-eds, whatever. But you can add whatever you like, and you can take out whatever source you don't like on any given day, and just depending on your mood or the weather or whatever, and it's completely your curated list. You decide, you control it, and you can change it in any way you want at any time. It's exceptionally simple. It only takes seconds. RSS. I'm just showing you just the basics of this. And obviously there's a million variables depending on what newsreader or podcatcher you want. But generally speaking, any website that you go to should have an RSS feed and prominently displayed RSS feed. If they don't, pester them about it to make sure that they have one so that you can then easily subscribe to their feed and you can see when they have new information, it will appear in your feed reader. And by that method, you can vastly increase your efficiency and you can start to take control over the information online instead of randomly browsing here and there and forgetting to go over there and it's such a hassle. It will be your feed to control. You decide what you're seeing and what you're not seeing, and you change it at any time. You don't need someone to come along and create a website for you that specifically magically combines all the people you like in one place. You can do that at any time. This is an exceptionally simple but an exceptionally important thing. So for those of you in the crowd who already knew all this is all old hat, awesome. Please share in the comments what newsreader, what podcatcher you use, what you find, any tips or tricks that you have for people who are new to all this. If you are new to all of this, dip your toe in. See if implementing this in your life makes a difference to the way that you take control of what you are doing online rather than having the online randomly recommended stuff that's coming at you in 18 Ways from Sunday being the way that you go through the world. Now you can choose what sources you're looking at in what way, and does that make a difference to the way that you're consuming and hopefully doing something with the information that you find online? I suspect that it will. But I invite you to see for yourself. Once again, Solutions Watch can be about the big ideas. It can also be about simple tips, tricks, little things like this that maybe you don't even know exist, but can drastically alter your life. So I wanted to share that with you today. Once again, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Looking forward to talking to you again very shortly.